Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my sister bring her kids to my wedding after she threatened to ruin it if I don't? It's causing a huge family drama. Hey Reddit. Okay, this is a pretty tough situation and I feel like I'm caught in the middle of a family feud that's spiraling out of control. I 28F am getting married to the love of my life 31M, and while most things have been going smoothly with wedding planning, there's one major issue that's threatening to ruin everything: my sister 32F and her kids. For context, my sister has 3 kids, all under the age of 7. I love them to pieces, but the problem is that her kids are, well, a handful. They're loud, they're always getting into trouble, and honestly, my sister doesn't really control their behavior in public. She has always been one of those "it's just how kids are" types of parents, which I understand to some extent, but it's never been easy for me to deal with. When we started planning our wedding, I made it clear from the beginning that it was going to be an adult-only affair. My fiancé and I agreed that we wanted a more formal, peaceful event without the chaos that kids bring. We're having a small, intimate wedding with around 50 people, and we want to keep it as calm and relaxed as possible. Plus, we both agreed that having kids around would make it harder to focus on the celebration and our vows. This isn't about disliking kids, but rather about creating the atmosphere we envision for our special day. Now, I've always had a pretty solid relationship with my sister, even though we're very different in a lot of ways. She has always been the more spontaneous, fun-loving one, and I've always been a bit more organized and particular. But we've always gotten along, even if we don't always see eye to eye on parenting and lifestyle choices. So when I sent out the invitations, I included everyone but specified that the event would be adults only. I assumed my sister would understand since she's been to weddings like this before. That's when things started going sideways. A couple of weeks ago, I got a call from my sister. She was upset, which honestly wasn't surprising at this point, but I didn't expect the tone to be so intense. She straight up told me that she wasn't going to come to my wedding if her kids couldn't come with her. She said it wasn't fair to expect her to leave them behind, especially because her husband works long hours, and she doesn't have any other family or close friends to help with babysitting. I tried to be understanding at first. I told her I know it's not easy, but it was important to me that my wedding day be as I envision it. I reminded her that it was a small wedding, and we wanted it to be more formal and relaxed, which is why we made the decision. I also said that she and her kids are always welcome at family gatherings, but this was one event where we wanted it to be just the adults. But then she went off. She started crying on the phone and telling me that I was being selfish. She said it was a huge slap in the face for her to not be allowed to bring her kids, especially when they're her whole world. She went on about how I was being inconsiderate, and she even said that if I didn't let her bring her kids, she would ruin the wedding. At first, I thought she was just upset and being dramatic. But then she followed up with a text that was even more intense. In the message, she said she would make sure that the family would know the truth about why she wasn't attending and that I was disrespecting her motherhood by not allowing her to bring her children. She also made comments about how my fiancé and I weren't really family focused and how I was choosing strangers over her own flesh and blood. The text even got a little more extreme, with her saying that if she wasn't allowed to bring her kids, she might boycott the entire thing and make sure no one else in the family goes either. To say I was shocked would be an understatement. I didn't expect such a reaction, and it honestly made me feel like I was being forced into a corner. I immediately reached out to my mom to try to get her to talk some sense into my sister, but my mom was oddly silent on the matter. When I pressed her, she said that while she understood where I was coming from, she also thought I should just let it go and let my sister bring the kids. My mom's always been someone who tries to keep the peace, but I honestly didn't expect her to take my sister's side so strongly. At this point, I was really hurt. I wasn't asking for much. It wasn't like I was banning kids from every family event, it was just one day that I hoped could be about the adults for once. I called my fiancé to vent, and he was supportive. He said that it's my wedding, and I shouldn't feel guilty for wanting things the way I've always dreamed. But I also felt a huge sense of guilt because I never wanted my sister to feel alienated or left out. However, her reaction had already been so dramatic that I wasn't sure if I could handle having her at the wedding, regardless of the kids. Things have escalated from there. My sister has been posting passive-aggressive stuff on social media, making vague comments about how family is everything and how people who don't understand parenthood are missing out on what really matters. The rest of my family is split on the issue. Some of them think I'm being too harsh, while others think my sister is being unreasonable and manipulative. There's a ton of pressure on me to change my mind, but I'm sticking to my decision. I've also been getting messages from friends who are wondering why the wedding has become such a big drama, and it's starting to make me feel like my special day is being overshadowed by all this mess. I'm starting to feel like maybe I've made a huge mistake, but at the same time, I don't want to back down on what I believe is the right choice for my wedding. So, Reddit, Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my sister bring her kids to my wedding after she threatened to ruin it if I don't? I feel like I'm caught between a rock and a hard place here, and I honestly don't know what to do anymore. Would love some advice. Thanks for reading. Update. So, I've been reading all of your comments, and honestly, I didn't expect to get so many different perspectives on this. I've tried to keep things as respectful as I can with my sister, but the situation has continued to get more complicated. After my last post, I did try to talk to my sister one more time, thinking maybe if we had a calm conversation, we could come to some sort of understanding. I called her and asked if we could talk in person. She agreed, and we met up at a cafe. It was awkward, to say the least. She started off by telling me how hurt she was and how much she felt like I was choosing my wedding over her. I tried to explain my reasoning again, how this was my day, the vision I had, and how I didn't want the wedding to be about keeping kids entertained. I reminded her that we had always gotten along, even with our differences, and that this wasn't a personal attack against her or her kids. But it didn't go well. She got defensive almost immediately and told me I was being selfish. She said that the family would understand if I was just upfront about not wanting her there because of her kids, but she just couldn't believe I'd go this far to make her feel excluded. She was visibly upset, and at that point, I felt the conversation wasn't getting anywhere. I tried to stay calm, but the guilt started to creep in, and it felt like I was being forced into a corner. The more we talked, the more she made it seem like if I didn't let her kids come, our relationship would be ruined. I honestly didn't expect it to go down like this. I thought that with time, things might smooth over, but it feels like every conversation is more emotionally charged than the last. The guilt I've been feeling has been overwhelming at times. I've spent days second-guessing myself, wondering if I'm being too rigid or if I'm letting my idea of the perfect wedding overshadow my family relationships. It's hard to find a balance between standing firm on my choices and not alienating the people I care about. But, I've also been thinking a lot about what I want for this day. It's one of the few times in my life where I get to have everything exactly the way I dream of it, and I don't want to regret making compromises I'm not comfortable with. My fiancé has been supportive, but I feel like this is something that's really dividing our family, and I'm worried about the long-term effects it could have on my relationship with my sister. Another update. Okay, so things have gotten worse, and I need to vent. After that last conversation with my sister, I thought things might calm down, but no. My sister has gone full throttle with her campaign to get the kids invited. She started messaging family members, telling them how I was disrespecting her and how my wedding was more important than family to me. It's honestly gotten to the point where she's contacting people I haven't talked to in years, spreading her side of the story. What really shocked me was when she reached out to my fiancé. She told him that if I was so inconsiderate and cold-hearted, he should reconsider whether this is the kind of relationship he wants to have long-term. That felt like a huge betrayal, and I'm still reeling from it. I know she's upset, but the way she's manipulating the situation is so out of line. I had a conversation with my fiancé about it, and he was incredibly supportive, as always. He told me he'd back me up no matter what, but I could see how frustrated he was getting with the entire situation. I've also had family members picking sides. Some people are starting to question my decision, and I'm getting messages from a few relatives who think I should just give in for the sake of peace. One of my cousins even offered to pay for a babysitter for my sister, but she turned it down. She says she doesn't want to be treated like an outsider, and if that means boycotting the wedding, so be it. The hardest part has been seeing how divided the family has become. Some relatives are calling me, telling me to stick to my guns, while others are questioning why I can't just compromise. I'm genuinely torn between wanting to keep the peace and sticking to my original vision for the wedding. This situation has made me realize how complex family dynamics can get, especially when it feels like emotions and expectations are running high. I honestly feel like my sister is trying to manipulate me into guilt-tripping her into getting her way. And what frustrates me is that the people in my family who are siding with her aren't fully understanding what this means for me. It's not just about the kids, it's about me having the kind of celebration I've always imagined. I feel like this whole drama has overshadowed everything, and I'm not sure how to move forward without either hurting someone or feeling like I'm compromising my values. Final update. So, I never thought I'd be updating again, but here we are. The whole situation has come to a head, and I need to let everyone know what happened. After my last update, things took a very serious turn. My sister stopped responding to me completely. She refused to talk, didn't return any of my calls or messages, and just seemed to disappear from the family dynamic. I honestly thought she was going to follow through with her threat and completely pull away from the wedding, and I was starting to accept that. But then, the night before my bridal shower, I got an unexpected message from her. It was a long, emotional text. She apologized for the way she had been acting and said that she had realized how much her behavior had hurt me. She admitted that she was scared of not being included in such an important day and had let her fears cloud her judgment. She told me that she understood my perspective, even if it was difficult for her to accept. She said that, although she still wished her kids could be there, she wanted me to have the wedding I envisioned and that she would respect my decision. I was honestly so relieved. I immediately called her, and we had a long, emotional conversation. She told me that she had spoken to some of our other family members and realized that she had been acting out of selfishness, not out of love. It was a huge weight off my shoulders, but I still feel a bit heartbroken about the way things went down. It took a lot for my sister to come to terms with this situation, and I was surprised by how much we were able to talk openly about everything. She admitted that she had felt left out of important moments in the past, and that was a big part of why she reacted the way she did. Hearing her open up about her fears really helped me understand her perspective, and I think that's what ultimately helped us come to a place of peace. We're back on good terms now, and she's coming to the wedding without her kids. I feel like a huge chapter of this saga has closed, but it was incredibly draining. My wedding is coming up soon, and while I'm excited, I can't shake the feeling that this whole drama will always be a part of it. The process has made me realize that family dynamics are complicated and sometimes, no matter how hard we try, things don't go as smoothly as we hope. To everyone who said I was being too harsh or should have compromised, I hear you, and I understand where you're coming from. But in the end, I feel like I made the right choice for me and my fiancé. I just wish it hadn't taken so much emotional turmoil to get here. The silver lining is that I now feel more confident in the decisions I make for myself, even when others disagree. Thanks to everyone for your support. I'm going to focus on the positive now and try to enjoy the rest of my wedding planning. The drama is behind me, and now it's time to look forward to the big day.